Thank you very much, Bird. I need to get my PNG set up. I'll change the screen in a second. But, hopefully work doesn't go too bad for you. I'm sorry, PK, I didn't mean to scare you that badly. Oh, wait, wrong one. Alright, we're just gonna use this one. Alrighty. We're playing more of a visual novel game. I played the demo for the second game. Well, I say second. It's not even like a continuation of the first game. It's not like a continuation. Hang on. I'm struggling to switch screens. Let me switch screens. Close window real quick. Over here. There's a lot going on all at once. Okay. So, it doesn't actually have like a second game. I say second game. I don't know why that's being turned down so much. But I say second game. It's not actually a second game. It's just another game made by them. I played the demo for that. That demo is like a little over 2 hours long. And it's only like the prologue. So yeah, we're gonna play more of this though. Play more of this file. In this stream we're gonna do these and then probably move on to the next step. I'm gonna grab my water though real quick because I feel like I'm gonna need it. Water achieved. I refuse to actually move my chair from my desk, so I always scratch myself on my desk getting in my chair. Because I'm too stubborn. Okay, so there will be a lot of opportunities for you guys to pick stuff. Like what is said, like what actions we take. I may limit it a bit more than last stream. That way you guys don't feel like you always have to pick like everything. But I digress. Shopping. Oh, and I will read out the names and stuff. I'm not gonna do any like voices though, because I'm not really good at that. Cove's dad. Come back before it gets dark, alright? The familiar voice drifted across the street and drew your attention away from the snail you'd been watching inch slowly across the pavement. Cove waited in front of his dad, pushing his green hair back off his face where the breeze was blowing it over his glasses. He looked down, only to be paying mind to the small amount of attention he was being handed a few slips of green paper. It reminded you when you first met Mr. Holden, although he was probably not paying Cove to be friends with himself. Cove's dad seemed to feel your gaze somehow, and maybe you made a noise, because a second later his eyes were on you, and he waved you over with a smile. Let me adjust it. He looked happy to see you, but you still felt a little awkward for getting caught. You've got to learn how to be more sneaky. You brushed your hands together to free them of sand, then jogged over to join the two.
How's it going?
Cosette, good to see you again. What excitement are you up to? us taking a walk. I found a pretty cool snail across the road. There's a lot of snails around here. Mr. Holden grinned at you. After you finished answering the question, Mr. Holden's attention returned to Cove, who was preoccupied folding the bills and he had into a tiny rectangle. Cove said, "Sounds fun. Cove was about to hit the stores by the beach. Why don't you go with him?" He shrugged. Cove was in the process of making a similar motion. You didn't have anything else to do, and you hadn't been to the stores in a few days. Maybe there's something new to look at. Maybe. Is that okay?
I guess.
I was gonna go by myself, but I guess it is. You don't have to. Cove said, "Great. I'm sure you guys will have loads of fun." Mr. Holden reached into his pocket and pulled out a leather wallet filled with money. He found it odd since your mom's own seemed to have cards in theirs. "Here." He leaned and pressed to pass a crisp 10 to Cove, giving him a wink and a whisper. Cove, "Get something for your friend too." Cove, "Sure."
Good kid.
Cove, "That's my boy." Cove's dad ruffled his son's hair as he was straightening back up. The bills in his hand still held out towards the green-haired boy. Cove's dad, "Take care." Cove accepted the bill after a second and slipped it into his pocket. Then one last nod to his dad, he turned and started walking. He followed after him, intrigued at the possibility this outing might bring. Cove strayed towards the gentle tide creeping up the sand, and you fell in place beside him. It was a nice day. The sun was shining, and there weren't many clouds in the sky, though the wind coming off the ocean kept it from being too hot. You took in a deep breath, enjoying the scent of salt and ocean air. When you looked at Cove, he was dragging his feet through the sand a little. You slowed down to wait for him. His eyes searched the ground intently. Looking for shells. Cove, startled a little at the sound of your voice, mumbled a sort of. Cove, "If you see any, can you let me know?" Could manage that. You dropped your view to the sand, walking carefully so you didn't step on any. You were good at finding shells. You had a lot of them at home and always found new ones whenever you visited the beach. The comforting sound of the waves filled the silence with a pleasant white noise, and you played a little game with yourself as you walked along, getting closer to the water as possible without getting wet. It resulted in you having to run up the sand quickly when a wave rushed in more than a few times. Although Cove threw a few glances your way, he didn't say a word. What do you usually do at the beach? Cove, "Lots of things. I like bodyboarding and volleyball and surfing and everything and stuff. The idea of standing on a big board while the waves propelled you towards the shore was mystifying. I'm not allowed to surf. It looks hard. Cove, "Not once you get a hang of it. I could show you sometime. But I'm also not supposed to surf right now because I have this." He lifted one arm, showing off the glaring pink cast wrapped around his wrist. "Yeah." Cove, "I also like collecting stuff that's on shore. Shells, sand dollars. I found a shark tooth once." "You did?" Cove stretched his forefinger and thumb. Cove, "It was this long." That somehow both seemed scary and delightful. "No way." Cove, "I mean it. I still have it under my bed." You'd have to remember to You'd have to remember to ask him to show it to you sometime.
So...
Cove, "What about you? What do you do out here?" Don't come to the beach a lot. I like swimming. I like looking at fish. I like building sand castles and nothing. I feel like not coming to the beach or nothing, or a beach a lot and nothing doesn't make sense considering previous decisions. Um. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a tiger by the toe. If it hollers, let it go. My mother said to swimming. I like swimming. Cove's lips curled up in a small smile. Cove, me too. It occurred to you that you hadn't been swimming in a while. There was so much to do before school started up again and so little time. Once you reached the shopping area, the noise level grew exponentially. No longer was it just waves and footsteps, but the chatter of people enjoying the lovely summer day, the call of birds trying to find bits of food left behind, and lots of salespeople trying to get attention. You sniffed the air as you walked beside Cove. You could still smell the ocean, but there was other scents now too. Pizza, pretzels, hot donuts. It was alright. There was a lot going on, but it beat staying at home and doing nothing all day. You were sure that you and Cove could find something to fill the day with if you looked around a bit. Cove was glancing from one side of the street to the other with a look in his aquamarine eyes that you couldn't quite work out. Cove, what's that? Cove pointed over to a large crowd of people gathered near a few tables with a large, colorful umbrella blooming from their middles. You couldn't see past the adults who were blocking the way, but you knew there must be something worth seeing. Another word, you two hurried over to see what all the commotion was about. Feast your eyes on the amazing Alexander. In the center of the crowd was a man with a tall hat and a funny green coat that had 3 long tails. There was a little table next to him with a cloth hanging over it that read The Amazing Alexander in glittery gold script. Why tell people his name if it's already on a sign? Cove hummed with understanding and turned to walk away just as the Amazing Alexander began to shuffle a deck of cards. I don't want to watch. Cove glanced back at the man, then briefly lifted his arms to his side before returning to his place. You grinned, waving him to follow you as you raced back to the stand in the crowd. With that, it began. The magic man pulled out one of the cards of the deck, showing it to the curious onlookers. It was a 4 of diamonds. Watch closely. You did, squeezing through a few adult onlookers to get a better view. Suddenly, man snapped his fingers, and just like that, the card disappeared. Whoa! I don't actually care for this type of shit, by the way. I don't know what my character does. The Amazing Alexander, who had earned his title, turned his head and looked directly at you. He reached out with a kind smile. What's that behind your ear? Choices. I can back away. Nothing or tell me. I guess it doesn't really matter. I could just do eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Or I let you guys pick because that's way funner. Actually, I want to save. But, nothing. It's true, you didn't keep anything there. He smelled like popcorn and candy when he stepped closer. You wrinkled your nose in confusion as you watched him. You felt a tug, then he pulled the 4 of diamonds out from behind your ear. What? You knew that couldn't really have come from your ear, but you still didn't get how he, You knew that it couldn't really have come from your ear, but you still didn't get how he'd done it. There was a light applause from the crowd, and the man gave a deep bow. This is for you. The musician plucked a pair of balloons from a clamp of them, tied down to his table, both in the shape of a dolphin instead of being a normal circle. One for you and one for your friend. Thank you for being my assistant. Wow. Now you were really grateful he chose you. After that, he went to someone else in the crowd. Pick a card, any card. My uncle does that every time he visits, not the balloons, the stuff with the cards. Cove spoke plainly while reaching over to take the dolphin that had been designated for him. Maybe it wasn't so special, at least he wondered if it was so Maybe it wasn't so special. It's too bad, but you kind of wanted to meet Cove's uncle if he knew how to make things disappear. Too, you thought that would be pretty neat. The crowd started to clear. Some you noticed. To the side there was a whole rack of brightly colored kaleidoscopes on display. Kaleidoscopes are cool. Ooh, these are cool. You should fit your balloon string to your other hand so you could bring the mysterious tunnel to your eye. A whole pattern of colors appeared right in front of you, spinning into all kinds of different shapes as you twisted the end of the tube. Cove picked up one and looked through it, twisting the tube at the end. After a second, he placed it back on the rack, moving to the other side of the stand. He went under the awning, careful of his own floating dolphin, and you joined him. Cove blinked at you for a moment, and you wondered if you shouldn't have asked. You knew there was much you missed that. You knew how much you missed that place, Cove. Not really. You're not understanding, looking over the stalls nearby. Keychains! While Cove looked at the sand bales, you were drawn to the table with colorful keychains laid out on it. They were sewn into the shape of sea creatures, and they are a plaque read "Handmade" standing proudly in front of them. There were a lot of different types, so a dolphin, a shark, a crab, and a turtle. Your hand stopped on the dolphin, so similar to your balloon animal. It was made of bright material that caught the sunlight when you picked it up. You remember once seeing a pod of dolphins swimming out in the distance of the beach, jumping out of the water and splashing as they dived back in again. That was a great day. You were instantly enamored. Checking the price, your heart fell. $6. You didn't know much about money, but you thought that was a lot to spend on one thing. You really had more than a $5 bill to your name. Though that changed the day you met Cove and his dad. You saw the $20 bill Mr. Holden gave hidden away in your room. It was a grand sum of money, but you couldn't spend it something that was at home instead of your pocket. Maybe you have to ask your moms to bring you here again, now that you knew what you wanted. Cove, is that what you want? Huh? Oh. It's $6. I didn't bring any money.
Alright.
So it's fine. You don't have to get it. Cove didn't mind that. He took the keychain from your hands, and that was that. He was holding a small yellow bucket for himself, too. My dad told me to. He smiled, pleased to have things work out. It was nice of Cove's dad to let Cove buy something for you, too. You had to remember to thank him the next time you saw him. After Cove paid, the two of you stepped out of the store side by side, your balloon dolphins knocking into each other and spiraling around in the air. You watched Cove hold up his new pail to his face, examining it thoroughly. Hey, Cove. Yeah? I really like this keychain. Thank you. Cove shrugged, looked at the sea creature with impassive eyes. Cove looked down further the street where there were different food carts lined up. He rested his non-cast arm over his stomach, and just as he did, yours let out a light growl. You hadn't eaten since breakfast, and after all this wandering around, you were definitely ready for some lunch. Cove, let's get some food. Yeah. Two wandered around for a short while, looking at all the delicacies that were available. Everything looked delicious, as different smells, both sweet and salty, wafted over you. Your stomach growled even louder. After passing up hot dogs, snow cones, ice cream, and pizza, you both agreed on pretzels. Cove got something sweet and cinnamon. You got one with chocolate, one with sprinkles, one with cheese, and a plain one. I don't think I've ever had a pretzel with chocolate or sprinkles on it. That sounds, or at least not like a normal full-size one. I know you can get like the mini ones covered in chocolate and like sprinkles, but I don't usually do those flavored ones. I usually just get like the normal pretzel because those taste the best. You licked your lips hungrily as the vendor handed your pretzel over, ready to take a big bite. Had a little sprinkling of salt on it, and that was just how you liked it. Though the little cup of ice and Cove got with his did look delicious. You found an empty table. You chose close enough to the beach that the grit of the sand made a terrible noise when you dragged the chair sit down. These balloons are gonna make it hard to eat. Cove placed a bucket on the table as he stared at his still balled up hand that was wrapped around the string. You opened your mouth to agree before an idea hit you. I know. After placing your pretzel somewhere it wouldn't get sandy, you tugged the balloon dolphin out of Cove's hand and tied a delicate bow around his wrist.
Oh.
Cove bounced his arm up and down in place, testing the stability of your knot. After watching his balloon jostle around but remain attached, he smiled satisfied. You do it for me. He repeated the ritual. Cove struggled somewhat with the cast, restricting his fingers on one hand, and a string already tangled around the other.
Okay.
Got it. The two of you spent a moment admiring your handiwork, both hands now free to easily munch on your pretzels. You bit into the doughy treat, savoring the taste on your tongue with a smile as you looked over the ocean. Alright, I was just requested by, my mom to come to her, so I will be right back. I'm sorry, chat. I'll be right back. I promise. Nope, wrong one. Okay. All right. Okay. After time, you finished your pretzel. You were done before Cove. It was boring. I don't have anything to do. You pulled the string of your balloon to bring it down to your level. Then you held the dolphin in your hands, manipulating it to make it look more like it was jumping in the air. I sound out of breath because I came back upstairs. Oh shit. Hello mods. If you turned to face towards the beach, it almost looked like it was swimming in the waves like a real dolphin. A laugh came from your side. When you glanced over at Cove, he had left the remaining part of his pretzel on the wrapper. He was gripping his dolphin too. Mine's name is Merryweather. He's the prince of dolphins. Mine is Splash. They star in movies. Mine is Cherry. She's actually an alien. Mine's name is Sam. They're just a regular dolphin. Choices. Pick the alien one. When no one's looking, she transforms back into her true alien self. She's purple skin and 10 eyes. You sighed, wishing you could meet a real-life alien. What's yours? Cove considered this question, placing the balloon against the table, resting his free arm across it in contention. It's a loud pop. The dolphin exploded into ribbons. Oh no! For a second, all Cove did was gape in shock, like you. Then his cheeks puffed up, squinting his eyes. Then you saw a tear start to glisten. You could have my balloon instead if you want it. He looked over at you, frowning. I don't want yours. Oh. You felt bad for Cove, but you were secretly glad. You liked the little dolphin and weren't eager to give it up. Cove spent the rest of the outing sniffling and didn't say much else. The passing of Cove's balloon was a major event. Was the last major event of your adventure. Rest in peace, Cove's balloon. In the end, the two of you headed back late that afternoon. You separated on the beach while Cove went straight home with his brand new sand pail in hand. You decided to sit for a while. You watched the waves and the sunset filling with your new keychain. Another summer day was drawing to a close. It had been nice for the most part. Hopefully there wouldn't be any tears next time. I'm gonna save Grown Up for the last one, because to me, albeit I'll admit, is the most stressful one for me. It's stressful because it's heavily confrontational. And I don't do well with confrontations, so we're gonna do this one next. It was another scorching summer day, the kind where no sooner had you finished one cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Everyone else had something on, so that afternoon it was just you and Shillin. This didn't happen much, especially since COVID arrived. That Lizzie around, Shillin looked at you for all the answers. It made you feel frustrated. He always wanted to hear what you thought instead of giving his own opinion and expected you to come up with plans. It was hard work, especially for such a hot day. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy cold and refreshing, something sweet, something like ice cream sandwich. You craved a soft ice cream sandwich between two cookies. There was nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look. Your mom didn't keep sweets in the house. Outside, there was plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but they were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. Sighed. As much as you really wanted a treat, it wasn't gonna happen. Shillin, what's wrong? I want an ice cream sandwich. Shillin, who had been draped over the sofa, perked up.
Yeah.
That sounds good. We don't have any here, though, and I don't have any money. Shillin, let me check if I have any. Shillin rummaged in his backpack and proudly produced an assortment of coins, plus one stray button. You set the button aside and counted the coins into neat piles. Just over $1. You announced this over to Shillin. He almost certainly carried the same conclusion. He'd been watching you expectantly. It's a start. Shillin beamed at you. We'll need to find some more. Okay. The two of you lifted couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down in deep crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and sorted the back of drawers. Most of what you found was useless or gross: bent up paper clips, fluffy whispers of dust or sand crumbs, and every so often you would strike a silver or bronze to add to the growing pile of coins. Your mind wandered to the $20 bill you tucked away in your room. It was enough for you and Sheldon to get what you wanted and more, but you didn't take it out. It was too special to hand over so freely. Besides, Sheldon would be curious about where it came from and might even mention your wealth to Lizzie. The exchange had been a secret. Dusty and disheveled from checking every room and squinting into every tiny nook, the two of you finished pooling your funds. Sheldon held his breath as you counted the coins once again. $2.53 and 2 buttons. You didn't know when the second button had said to join the party, but you were too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out. Is that enough? You figured he knew the answer without looking at you for confirmation. The thrill of your success and the reward that would follow canceled out any other feelings you might had about them. Yeah. You can now afford something at the shops, just one thing, but it was infinitely better than none. Shillin clapped his hands. Yay! The two of you dashed outside, the promise of sugar buoyed you on to your destination where, breathless but happy, you stared at the overwhelming number of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed to the funds of the treat. He seemed to notice your pawn. Pause. Aren't you getting an ice cream sandwich? Shillin asked, as though he was entirely set from the decision rather than someone with the stake than the outcome. Do you mind? Shillin cocked his head to the side. It was your idea. You should choose. It wasn't fair to be the only one to decide when he'd been a main factor in making this happen. Some of the money came directly from his backpack. What do you like? All of them. They're also good. Press further. What do you really like? Popsicles or ice cream? Ice creams. Which is your favorite? It's so hard to pick. I don't know. Frustrated. You cut to the heart of the matter. Do you want me to choose? Yeah. And that was that. You got the dessert you originally wanted, and hope Sheldon would like it too. Finally, the reward of your hard work was that you bit into the ice cream sandwich, I don't know why I didn't split it in half. The chewy chocolate biscuit complemented the creamy vanilla ice cream inside. Held out Sheldon so he could take a turn. He shook his head. Take a fucking bite. He didn't want any after everything he did to help get it. That was weird. Even if Sheldon said it was okay, every story you'd seen on TV or read in a book said that sharing was caring. You stood your ground, even as the treat started to trickle dangerously towards your finger. It's only fair that you have some. We both bought it, but you want it more than I do, and getting to play is a lot fun already, so you can have it. That's more fair. I want you to have some even more than I want to finish it, so eat your part. Relenting, Sheldon took the treat and gave it a taste. His eyes lit up. It's really good. Thank you. You smiled, pleased with your good deed. You picked the best one. Did he mean that? Sheldon was always nice no matter what happened. Even if he hated it, you knew he wouldn't say so. Maybe he thought it was gross, and that's the real reason why he didn't want to take some. You had no idea. You said him as he ate a little more. He had every appearance of enjoying himself. Still weird. The two of you began to head back to home as he ate. You walked side by side of the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why didn't he speak up for himself? It's almost as if Sheldon didn't know how to say what he felt or was too afraid to. choices. We're 8. He's not much younger than us. A third. That was kind of sad. Not being able to talk to people isn't fun, and you didn't want to be the kind of person people were scared to tell their honest opinion to. Considered asking Shillen about it, but if he couldn't give an opinion on something like ice cream, then he wasn't really going to be open up about this. You hoped for the best. Maybe you were wrong, or if you were right, maybe he'd feel better about it soon. Shillen made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There had been good times, and there had been confusing ones. You were positive one thing, at least the treat was delicious, and that was nice. The sun was setting low on the horizon when you returned to your neighborhood. You spotted 2 familiar figures up ahead, Lizzie and Cove. You opened your mouth to make your presence known, but just then you saw tears on Cove's face. You walked straight over, Shillen on your heels. Once there, you asked what happened. Without a time machine, the only way you're going to find out what happened was asking the witnesses. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even come to Cove's aid. You wanted to hear the story. Cove, what happened?
Pico.
I got yelled at. He took a deep sigh, setting his breath. Some grandparents got mad at me. Aw, sorry. Lizzie jerked her head up in the direction of a nearby house. Your heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out that condo for the summer. Hi, BK. You, Lizzie, and Shillen knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. Tokiko. They're like that with everyone. Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them, but the elderly pair particularly took offense to kids. Cove. Yeah, Lizzie said. Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked poignantly in your direction. I was helping. Shillen, not school. Is there anything I can do?
No.
Oh, no, I'm just gonna stay away. Or you could teach him a lesson. There was a devilish glint in her eyes. What? Lizzie, you should ding-dong ditch them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It'll be great, because they're so slow they'll never catch you. Cove, that's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again.
We're just saying
Lizzie, you're saying that because
you're a chicken.
Cove glared, but didn't take the bait. Lizzie turned to you. You're not a chicken, are you? I'm not ding-dong ditching. I'd rather avoid it. Looked at the house behind those closed doors. Looked 2 beings rich in years but poor in patience. Maybe they deserved retaliation, maybe they didn't, but that punishment wouldn't be coming from you. Safer stay away from them. You could live without the hassle. I'm not doing that either. Another chicken for the coop. It's a hen house now. No. I don't remember my choices, but no. Cove, if we're chickens, you're a lizard, Lizzie. She wagged her tongue at his face. Still better than a bird brain. The condo door opened, revealing one of the 2 culprits. The old man, wise, wizened face was set with a scowl, which was to say he looked exactly like he always did when you saw him. Maybe that was his normal face. What are you kids doing loitering outside my house? Or maybe he was always just in a terrible mood. Lizzie, nothing. Nothing? He repeated the words as the greatest crime anyone could commit. Nothing good, more like get lost. It wasn't like he owned the space outside his house, but Cove's eyes, still red from earlier tears, were wide, and he thought it would be best to heed the old man's command. Lizzie took off, and Shillen merely tread without so much as a glance back in your direction. So much for your friendship. You waved your arm at Cove, summoning him to follow you, ran after Lizzie. The old man's hollers propelled you all the way from the street and to the sanctity of the hill. Only once were you safe did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache in your legs. You flopped down the blades of grass, tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The 4 of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of the cool grass against your skin.
Cove.
Lizzie, hey Cove. Cove lifted his head. Lizzie, I told you they were mean grandparents around here. Cove rolled his eyes and decided that this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Why are you quoting that? I'm so confused. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting with Shillen, who eagerly joined in the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew that you'd be a second fiddle again to Shillen once Lizzie came around. It always seemed like that. Yeah, kind of. And it was fine. Shillen could prefer Lizzie as much as he wanted to. Close your eyes, lay it on your side, and relax. Some time passed with you like that. Felt good to take a real break. You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. The blanket of clouds remaining reminded you of a thick throw you curled under a cold, rainy day. You wondered if the clouds would be as soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. Dolphin, car, alpaca, smell it, alpaca. You saw fluffy alpacas in the sky. You nudged Cove and pointed at it. Can you see the alpaca? Cove joined you in gazing skywards.
Whoa.
More like a llama. Hey. He chuckled at your reaction. All the sun's light faded from the sky, and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, once visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned every sweep of the tide. Lizzie, let's go to the beach. There was no argument from the other two, Shillen, who was still Shillen, and Cove, who would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. You too tired to argue. It had been a long, hot day. You weren't bothered about going there, but you would rather do that than make a scene. You stepped onto the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour, abandoned sandcastles and footsteps in the sand. It was too big to belong to any of you. Were the only indications of how busy it had been only hours earlier. The four of you kicked off your shoes and removed socks and walked along the water's edge as waves tickled your feet. Lizzie, I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything. Cove, that would be bad for the fish.
Jeez.
Lizzie, I didn't say I would do it. Jeez, you don't have to be so serious about everything. Cove, you're the one who asked what happened. What would happen? That is what would happen. It would hurt the fishes. Shillen, I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Shillen, me too. Bubble baths are luxurious. You'd never heard Lizzie use that word before. Lizzie, Mom loves loves to have bubbles in her bath. She'll turn off the lights and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, when's your mom coming to pick you up anyways? Shillen, not for a while. She's busy. What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does. Lizzie, don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would anyone talk about something that they never talk about? You kept your eyes on the ground, watched your toes get swallowed by the waves. You know Shillen never seemed upset when this topic came up. It made you feel awkward, just for having both of your moms. Shillen, it's okay. I'm like Lizzie and Teiko. I don't have a dad, but I don't have two moms. I just have one. She's really great. Oh, I'm sorry. I only have one now, too. My mom isn't here. She's back at home. It's just my dad and me.
Sorry.
I never had her dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone. Cove nodded. You joked about Shillen's mom. No. I'm gonna say that. Shillen. Yeah. Cove couldn't muster a response. You didn't think he truly disagreed, though. The silence was broken with a splash when Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and sudden sand splashed across your legs. Lizzie giggled when foot still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking in the incoming wave to make a splash of his own. Shillen scurried out of Cove's spray zone with a grin. Retaliate. Use your foot to smack the water pulling around you, sending an arc of sea foam flying back onto your sister. You laughed as she spluttered, and some of the salty seawater landed in her mouth. She spat it out. Lizzie, yuck. Lizzie chased you, intent on revenge. You dashed up and down the coast, taking turns to be the predator and the prey, as well as joining forces to take down Shilliner Cove. Alliances were slightly forged and wordlessly broken. Everything was fair game in the war. Shillin brief explosion before drowned out by the biggest splash yet, causing him to fall face first into the ground. That would have been bad enough without a wave that followed, cascading over his prone body. Shillin sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming in from the rain. Theo hurried up to check on him. His hair was plastered on his head and his soaked clothes clung. There was any part of him that was dry, you couldn't see it. Oh, that was crazy. Are you okay? Shillin, yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over. Lizzie, way to go, Shillin. That's so rude. Offer to help him up. Shillin didn't take your outstretched hand. After a moment, you dropped it. Lizzie was too busy to snicker to notice and held her hand out for Shillin too. He reached over and took it. He slowly started to pull himself up from the ground. Then he slipped on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave. The water rolled over them.
Sorry.
Sorry. What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low, but there's no way Shillin would do something like that on purpose, then pretend it was an accident, especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationship with Shillin felt unclear, he did at least like her a lot. Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Shillin got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove from laughing at the two of them. With that, it was time to call it a day. The four of you drudgily made your way back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake as damp clothes weighed the group down. Your moms were outside chatting to Cove's dad. Lizzie, we're back. Your mom's faces fell as they took in the state you were all in, raging from messy to soaked.
No.
Elizabeth, is that all you have to say about yourself? You brought half the beach back with you. They certainly did. What's Marigold gonna do when she comes to get Shillin? Is that how you want him to be for a long drive home, cold and filthy? Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Cove's matted hair. You've been out making memories, Bucko. I'm glad you had a good time with your friends. Cove used his slightly moist cast arm to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed that it had even gotten wet. Now he was worried too. I think they could have found a less risky way to spend time and had just as much fun. That might be right, kids. What can you do? Come on, Cove, let's get you cleaned up and dried off. We don't want that cast out to be reset. Cove winced at the thought.
Okay.
Attaboy. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Cove up off the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest, sand already transferring from Cove onto him, but that didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his troubles. You know what, I'm not gonna say it. I'll let
Take
you guys.
Care.
Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff. Night last, family, and Shillin too.
Fine.
We better do what we can to fix you guys up. Come on, everyone. Inside, and I want you to march straight to the downstairs bathroom. Yes, Mom. Shillin. Okay, Lizzie's mom. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That won't do much good tonight. I was gonna say that Cliff carrying Cove reminds me of that one TikTok audio where it's like, oh, it's getting late, I should take this one home. And Cove protesting to being carried back to his house. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That won't do much good. Sitting on an old beach towel your mom had found, you waited in the hall until you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go to your room or walk around the house. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner time. It felt like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shillen would wash up first and borrow some of your clothes. He was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Miss Fields had come to collect him a little while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience seeing him without a hat for once. Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, got to go in the tub next, and it wasn't a bubble bath as she had hoped. This was a no fun allowed cleanup session, at least what she claimed. Not much longer would be your turn, and when the bath was done, you'd have to go right to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad there weren't going to be any further events. Drifting off to sleep sounded like a great idea. Alright. Sandcastles or fireflies? What is your guys' opinions? Sandcastles. EO, thoughts, opinions, castle. Okay. English does hurt. Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When him and Shillen sat on the shoreline, one bright morning, you could tell he wanted to be in the water. But there's no way he'd be swimming anytime soon, not with this cast. The waves washed a single shell to shore, glittering in blue, another reminder of the place he couldn't go. From what you'd heard about Cove's old life and tiny pieces and fragments, you could tell that he'd do anything to be able to get his cast off. Like make a pact with a witch or something just to get it off his arm. You thought about how his summer last year might have been totally different from this, with his old home and his mom and dad. But now he was here with you and Shillen and Lizzie and everyone else. And he couldn't even go in the sea. This town wasn't bad. It had all your favorite things in it, but sitting there on the same beach you'd grown up, you could understand that not everyone else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you did. You watched him from the corner of your eye quietly. He finally said aloud what you'd been pondering. I wish I could go in. The water? Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry. You're gonna be able to do it soon. Cove only sighed in response. Apparently soon wasn't soon enough. It's so pretty, the ocean. And huge. There could be anything out there, like mermaids. Yeah. I wish you didn't have the cast. I don't really care. Swimming might be fun if we could. I'm fine here on land. I wish you didn't have the cast. Because I already said previously that mermaids and stuff are cool, so I'm not gonna just say they're dumb. Or not real. Cove, me too. Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on the situation. Cove turned back to the water. But he looked away. Something about Shillen's slow, careful movements caught his eye. Hey, are you building a sandcastle? Sort of. I was playing around while you were talking. I'm listening. Maybe I could too. I've only made big piles before. It's nothing special. I'm sure you'll be good at it right away. Well, how do you do it then? Shillen's cheeks lit up. You could tell that he was a bit uncomfortable to have Cove expecting stare on him. I'll play too. I like making sand stuff. He put his hand back to seashells and sand and nodded. I don't do it a lot, but this is how I get a house started. Shillen, focusing more intently than you'd ever seen him, guided Cove through his process. You happily used your own method. It didn't take long for the three of you to have humble structures prepared. Shillen, that's all kind of. You can do anything now, like make it bigger, add some seashells, carve a pretty pattern. I bet you'll have great ideas.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it bigger. Mine's gonna be a real castle. Shillen, that's cool. This is gonna be a house. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to make house, castle, mansion. I could make a mansion since no one else is making one. Mansion. Okay. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided you were going to design a mansion. The better part of the next hour was spent focusing on your own work. The boys were the same. Even if Shillen didn't sneak as many peeks at everyone else as he usually did. You finished shaping before either of them did, glancing up from what you built. It seems you got done so fast because they had already searched around for extra decorations. Shillen had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff. Cove had a lot of shells, but there were still options. The first thing you reached for was a bottle cap, a blue seashell, a piece of green sea glass. A green piece of sea glass. Damn. I don't really care what goes on in this. It doesn't really matter. It's not like really important to the story. And I can always pick if no one has input because this is pretty random and minute. I like that the sharks don't cover up the screen too much. I'm looking at my stream from something else. I'm kind of glad they don't cover up the entirety of the stream though. Bottle cap. It was the best fit for your mansion, you decided. And it seemed like the lid from a sports drink that Lizzie was trying to convince your mom to let her try. So you put it in a funny place where it'd take a second look to see it. Pleased with your result, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cove and Shillen seemed super immersed still. You know you could probably sneak a peek at either one's work. Decided not to look. You watched some clouds go by. Then the silence was then broken. Cove, what's on top of yours, Shillen? You peeked closer to discover something shiny sticking out of Shillen's sand chimney. Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. It looks like smoke.
Neat.
That's good. That's smart. You should be an architect. You'd be good at it, Shillen. Shillen smiled without a word. That was that for the current topic. Tokiko. Can I see what you did? Sure. You began surveying your work. All you really knew about mansions is they were supposed to be big, so you had gone really big. It was the size of the country club that Lizzie played golf at compared to Cove and Shillen's buildings, probably even bigger. Shillen quickly decided to jump in the new conversation. Hey Tokiko, what did you do? This is my mansion. It looks great. Your house is so big. I guess mansions are really just big houses. Shillen, huh? Is being a house bad?
No.
Cove, no, but we all made our own place. Nobody's the same. Shillen, I think we are. Cove raised an eyebrow at that. If something is the only one of that thing, that makes it special. Shillen, yeah, for sandcastles and stuff. People too. My dad always said how everybody is their own man, real individual. Shillen, I don't think I'm very special.
Why?
Why not? Nobody else is you. Shillen simply shook his head. I'm not different. Beat passed between the two. Cove then looked down at his own work again. Okay. He didn't seem bothered leaving the disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things on his mind. Cove, my dad tried to get me to make a sandcastle the first time we came to this beach. I didn't want to. Cove trailed off again. There was another moment of silence. Shillen shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. You didn't think he noticed that Shillen was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened to your mom's met my dad, Tokiko? You waited to see if Shillen was gonna say what he wanted to, then he didn't. You considered Cove's question. I wasn't there, they didn't tell me. I just remembered what happened when I met your dad. Mr. Holden had been a weird stranger then. Well, he still kind of was strange. God damn it. He still was kind of strange. No other parent acted like him, but you knew him better at this point. Now that you thought about it, it made a lot of sense that Cove's dad talked to him about people being unique. You were pulled out of your thoughts when Cove continued. Oh, well, I was there. I don't think my mom has met your dad. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Tokiko's parents and my dad met the same day I met them. I'm going to say what happened. Shillen frowned to himself, ducking his head. His hat cast a shadow over his face. You could still tell he was upset about not being included in Cove's choice of topic. That was kind of boring for him, though giving people their own turn to say the thing they want is important too. To pick. I don't really care. I've done both. I've done both options, so to me it doesn't really matter. I don't remember what happens, but I've done both. Shillen could talk about stuff after Cove had the chance to share what he planned on. Oh, no, I don't want to quit. When we moved here, we didn't bring a lot of stuff with us, only some stuff that would fit in Dad's car. We didn't even get a moving truck. I sat there while Dad brought it all inside. I didn't want to get out because I knew Dad would make me look around the new house, and I really didn't want to do that. His lips twisted into a frown as he recalled that. Then I saw your moms. They were in a car too and stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed. He waved his hand and went over in front of your house and started talking to them. I don't know what they said. I couldn't hear. But he couldn't see me anymore since I was looking the other way, so I opened the car door and left. I wanted to get away and went behind the houses. I found those hills there and the one where we met for the first time. Cove nodded and stared at you. You stared back. He didn't go on to say anything else. Aren't you gonna finish your story? Cove's brow wrinkled. Like he didn't understand why you're surprised. That's all that happened. Okay. What is it? What? Said in a weird way. I don't think I did. Cove narrowed his eyes at you, suspicious. Shillen's mouth twisted into a scowl of disbelief, but he said nothing. Why did you bring it up anyways? There was a slight shrug of Cove's shoulders.
Well,
I was thinking about it because of the sandcastles and made me remember when I moved here. My dad showed me the beach first before we went back to the car to unpack. He was really excited about it for some reason. Cove's brow furrowed a little more as he quickly raked his hand through the sand. I get it. You thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach, and instead was hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation came to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped into his head. Shillen fidgeted uncomfortably in the sand, made Cove aware of his presence again. They looked at each other and you could only wonder what it might be. Hey Shillen, yeah? Why are you always turning so red even when nothing's happening? Clearly startled, he jerked back. Neither you or Shillen had expected that to be how he got included in the conversation again. Shillen, I don't know, I guess. Okay, it's kind of weird. Shillen's eyes went wide with embarrassment. His lips twitched. He was blushing even harder than before. Maybe it wasn't only this. Perhaps it was simply just the last straw. But it was a big deal to Shillen, a huge deal. He didn't look sad. He almost looked panicked. You weren't sure he was gonna, if he was about to cry, run away, or what. You soon got an answer. Yeah, I forget that things get a little heated in this one, but not really. Not as bad as Grown Up. Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses, and nobody is named Cove.
Who asked you to come?
Who asked you to come? It was probably your dad bugging Tohiko's family some more because you don't have anyone else who will ever play with you. Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to laugh off. It didn't seem like this kind of thing he'd be upset before, though you hadn't known anything that would bother Shillen. I'm sorry. Me too, I was just wondering. nervously messed with the sand. You picked up some sand, turned it over in your hands. There didn't seem to be much you could do to stop the fight, and you weren't sure what to do with yourself. Cove looked over what you were doing, starting to build his own set of walls. Shillen took a breath before kneeling back down to his patch of sand. It seemed like they both decided to try playing again. You were glad for that. You all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Shillen's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. The air stayed uncomfortable for the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment Shillen's mom appeared at the beach to take him home. Shillen and Cove had mostly followed your lead and barely said a word. His mom was standing before him. Even Shillen's goodbye had been quiet, friendly, cheerful, but notably quiet. But with Shillen gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head back to your own houses. The two of you trailed out the park together and towards the neighborhood. The walk home was quiet. You passed familiar landmarks, shoes thumping against the sidewalk in near perfect unison. Cove was clearly caught up thinking about something. Asked him what he was thinking about. Something was definitely up, so you choose to reach out to him and ask, "Hey, Cove, is everything alright?" You're making a funny face. Oh, I was just wondering. Cove fell silent again for a few more seconds and sighed. Why'd Shillen act like that, when all I said was he was all red a lot? You were being rude to him. He's just a baby. You should make fun of him. I don't know. It's just Shillen. He gets embarrassed. You shrugged at Cove with no answer to give. I don't know. I don't ever really know what to say when it comes to characters like blowing up in each other's faces. Because I'll be honest, Shillen does not really stay an integral part, really like a super integral part of the story. Like you see him maybe I think like once or twice after this step. I think you'd maybe see him in the other two moments, which are like what's going on now. But I don't think you don't really see him again after that. I'm just gonna pick the last one. That's like the better one. There wasn't really much you had to say about Shillen. He was Lizzie's friend. I guess I can get it why he would do that. Sometimes I get really mad too. Despite coming to a conclusion, Cove's mood was still sour. What Shillen said didn't make any sense anyways. Parents always talk to other parents and set stuff up for their kids to play together. My dad didn't do anything weird. You struggled to not make a face that his dad definitely did something weird to try to get you to spend time with Cove. Cove didn't know that. Nobody's making spend time with you. Your dad does stuff, so you'll hang out with my family, but Shillen shouldn't have said that. You decided to tell him about how his dad offered you money. So I don't know how much this will affect. So you can choose later on in the story to tell him about the deal. I don't know how it affects things when you tell him in this first step, because you don't really know him very well. Don't tell him. Nope. See? Okay, this one is clearly lying. This one's clearly lying, so I feel like this isn't a very good one to pick. But this one also implies that the deal. I'm gonna do this one. No, because that feels like lying, and I'd rather not. Cove's shoulders relaxed, you hadn't even noticed that he had tensed up. Cove, yeah, that's what I thought too. Anyways, I knew the whole time Shillen shouldn't be saying things like that. You nodded, but you didn't speak. Kept your eyes firm on the ground. By now, the two of you were on the sidewalk near your house, and it was time to part ways. Bye, Cove. Your parents hadn't planned anything else for you, though you knew you'd see him eventually. Cove nodded, turning away. Bye. You made your way to your house at a leisurely pace, going up the driveway to get to the front door. Before you went inside, you looked back. Cove was halfway to his house, his hands shoved in his pockets, still a little unsure about still a little unsure with what you were supposed to do with the deal Cove's dad had offered. You didn't want to say anything bad, or something you shouldn't. You might change your mind sometime, there was always tomorrow after all, but for now, it was definitely something you wanted you to keep to yourself. With the final look, you went inside your house. Alright, fireflies. Alright, tonight we're gonna catch fireflies at this blunt decoration made from your sister you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer, coming out on warm nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was particularly balmy. You knew there would be there were bound to be a ton of them around. Oh, are you? Yeah, you started eating fast. You're like, I'm just gonna look. They hadn't answered for sure yet, but if that's what Lizzie said you would do, that's probably what you'd end up doing. Lizzie was an expert at getting her way, having mastered the art of it by the time she could talk. That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we, Mrs. Slats? Shillen tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lighting up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shillen to still be here. Like always, his mom had to bring him up really early in the morning before her job started. But normally she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let you know. Your mom knows she'd be late. Didn't hear why. Probably more work things. You thought maybe getting to hang out for Shillen a little longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside. Staying home and watching TV was never an option for her when with a guest over. That's why you were pretty sure she'd get your moms to agree. Well, it's already so dark out there. Lizzie gave Mom the best puppy eyes she could, slowly spooning mac and cheese into her mouth while you waited for their response.
There.
Let them go. The nights like this don't happen every night. Your parents exchanged a look, then Mom eventually sighed and nodded back. Lizzie, yes! Fine. Just make sure you stay on the hill behind our house with all the poppies, okay? Duh, Mom. That's where most of them are. The idea had only just been planted in your head, but already you could just picture all the glowing lights spread out in front of you, like the fairies from bedtime stories Mom would read sometimes. Lizzie and Shillen started digging into their food. It soon became a race to see who could finish their dinner first.
Isn't that great?
Aren't you excited to play? Not really. Taco's just mad because I always catch the most. Lizzie boasted proudly, her mouth full of food, and Mom gave her a stern look. Elizabeth. A knock on the door interrupted Mom before she could, no doubt, scold your sister. I'll get it. Your big sister jumped out of her seat and ran over to the door, pulling it open without even looking out the window to see who it was. Huh? You shifted in your seat to try to catch a glimpse of the unexpected guest.
Hi.
Good evening, Cove. Your mom had already walked by the door by the time you managed to see past Shillen's flappy hat. Cove, you had no idea why he was here all of a sudden, but you supposed it wasn't worth worrying over. Instead, you landed your eyes on Lizzie, who was looking at Cove like he had come here to specifically ruin all her plans. Then for a few seconds, Cove said nothing, only stood there, looked up at your mom with a face that almost looked like he was considered turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off because I guess he borrowed it from you. He took a familiar screwdriver out of his large side pocket, eyes now dropped to the floor. We left ours back home when we moved. Great. Thanks, bud.
You.
Or thanks, bye. Sorry, I misread who it was. Thank you. Why don't you come inside for a bit? Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged and mopped from the table too. I'll give your dad a call and let him know you got here all right. Cove shuffled in fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground. Mom closed the door behind him. Hi, Cove. Shillen gave Cove a friendly smile while waving by holding his hands and opening and closing his fingers. Cove nodded in response. I'm purposely gonna be a little shit. I'm gonna invite him. You could see Lizzie eyeing you from mentioning the excursion to an outsider, but she'd get over it. If Code said no, you'd understand, though. Catching fireflies wasn't something that everyone liked to do.
Okay.
I want to see him. I've never caught one before. It's too bad that he never had the chance before now. Fireflies weren't out. The fireflies weren't out when he first moved in, and there must not have been any where he used to live. We can't go until after dinner, she pointed out. Lizzie, walking back to the table, took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish your own stuff as well. Closer eyeing what the menu the menu for your family's meal. Have you eaten yet? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What did you have? Eggs. The clipped one-word answer seemed to discourage Shellen from asking any more question. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. Her phone call with Dad must have ended because your mom came back to the room.
Okay.
Go. Your dad said you can stay here for a little while if you'd like, but he's gonna come and get you. He's going to come get you before it gets too much later. Sure.
Fine.
Oh, fun. This will be so nice. As you polish off your meal, you hoped it would be too. All three of you finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far. It's fine, Mom. Shellen trailed so closely after Lizzie he was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. Coming? After a moment,
Bye.
he did. Bye, children. The two of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Shellen by the time you walked outside. You pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get further and further away. You're so slow, Tohiko. We don't have all night. You started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice call out you, but paused when you saw Cove still walking at a relaxed pace. Walk with them. You suppose there wasn't any real hurry. You knew it would be bad. It would be bad to leave them behind entirely. The two of you followed after the footsteps of Lizzie and Shellen left behind until you reached the hill behind your house. Lizzie had already climbed to the top, and Shellen was spinning in circles somewhere in the middle. Upon seeing the gentle, glowing, winking lights made you move a bit faster, eyes wide in delight.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Shellen took a moment to come over and welcome both of you to the hill. Hey guys, it's really great out here, huh? See how many there are. Yeah. A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green head. Fine. Covering your mouth with a hand, the sound escaped you, and Cove looked at you in confusion. What? You gestured to his head. He reached up, making the firefly dart away. Cove jumped and followed after the glow. Shellen, oh, look, Lizzie has one. That's amazing. Shellen ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or backpack along the way. You hummed as the group divided and conquered, shifting your gaze to the dozen of other fireflies sailing around. The game was on. This doesn't really matter too much. Spotting one close by, you approached with assassin-like stealth, crouching down to make yourself seem less like a threat. Slowly dragging one foot in front of the other, you crept up towards it, arms stretched out. You closed your hands around the little glowing creature, careful not to crush it. The firefly landed in your palm, almost docile. You stared down at your prize in delight. Its tiny legs tickled your skin, giggled at the sensation. Cove kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab, his pink cast waved awkwardly through the air, foiling his efforts to clap his hands around a firefly. Cove watched it vanish in thin air with a dissatisfied expression on his face. You want to see the one I got? Cove didn't notice you. He seemed more preoccupied continuing his hunt, hopefully not without his cast getting in the way this time. That was fine. You had your own plans. Click more. With renewed vigor, you ran out onto the hill. Not sure how much time had passed while you were in the thick of it. All you could focus on was the adventure at hand. No critter was safe from your grasp. At first, you tried to keep a tally of how many you caught, but once the number grew higher than 10, you had no more fingers left to count with. You were having the time of your life, racing up and down the hill with the crash of the ocean and the sound of everyone's laughter echoing in the background. Eventually, the fireflies began to thin out and your energy began to lapse. You decided it was time to call off the hunt.
Come on!
Tohiko, Cove, get up here. We're gonna have a race. The shouting caught you off guard. It had been quite a while since you'd heard from Lizzie or Shellen. You glance over to see them both standing on top of the hill, Lizzie beckoning you with a quick hand gesture. If she was like that, you knew there wasn't much room for disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eye, you saw Cove was coming as well. He didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought he might be intrigued by the idea of a race. Hi.
Cove.
Hi, Cove. You can roll down the... Cove, you can't roll down the hill. You could hurt your arm. You'll be a referee for the rest of us. Pointed this out. Cove froze in place. Oh, it's that kind of race. He frowned down at his cast. It was the second time it got in the way tonight. And this wasn't even the first time she had asked him to be the referee for one of her 7 races. What? Yeah. You'll watch and see who gets to the bottom first. It's important.
I guess.
Got it. I guess. The cast was sturdy. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for any reason to make someone else the referee, but it had already been decided. I'm gonna do something else. What? You didn't feel much like racing. You told Liz the very same thing, and she wrinkled her nose at you. But the race is always better with more people. I want you to play too. Shrugging her shoulders, you refused to budge. Lizzie let out a huff before throwing her hands in the air. Fine, I'll be the winner whether you join in or not. Lizzie laid down and she'll do the same. Bye. You turn and wander to the other side of the hill, deciding how to spend your time. Catch for fireflies. You notice that since there were no one else around to chase them, there were more fireflies hanging around than before. It took a few tries, which successfully captured one of the little lightning bugs, and you held it carefully between your hands. Peeking between your fingers for a closer look, you noticed the firefly's light was wavering, blinking on and off slowly. When you opened your hand to set it free, it flew off, shining as brightly as all the stars in the sky. You continued your solo hunt, much like before. You're not sure how long until a familiar voice called out, Tohiko, it's time to go home. Your head perked up at the sound of your name. You followed it over to Lizzie, sad that the night was over so soon. It had gotten late and was beginning to feel like just a bit chilly as you made your way out of the hills, but the cold in the air hadn't dampened anyone's spirits. The 4 of you walked back home together, side by side, down your neighborhood street, discussing the evening, each person trying to prove that they were the one who caught the most fireflies. You know, whoever really did catch the most fireflies didn't matter much anyway. All that mattered was that you had a good time, which, judging off the smiles on everyone's face, you did. Alright, so we can choose to do this one, or we can choose to just skip it. We can just continue on. Also, I think it's interesting that on stream you can see the icons. I can't see the icons. They're all white. We get what? I need specifics. I forgot there's like a bit of a delay, so I realized you guys are answering. Sometimes I have to keep in mind of what I already said. We could skip it, because not a whole ton happens, or we could just do it. But I'm not like here to like completely like do like a game walkthrough playthrough. I'm gonna skip it because I really don't want to deal with it. So then the summer ends. I'll never get tired of that view. You sit beside your moms and Lizzie as the 4 of you watch the sun dip into the ocean somewhere far, far away. You like to imagine it cooling off in the water, resetting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow. That was a fun day, but I didn't like that they had musicians on I didn't know they had magicians on the shopping street now. Neither did I. Oh no, we're so dull. Let's get out more. Lizzie, he didn't do real magic, Mom. How did you figure that one out? 'Cause I know that's not what real magic looks like. Pokemon Ghost telling me I have an egg that's about to hatch. Sorry. Oh dear Lizzie, there's all kinds of magic in the world. Lizzie gave Mom a suspicious look but didn't dispute the claim. Well, we can't sit here all night. Let's try to hurry home and get cooking. Who's helping with dinner? Lizzie immediately let out a groan. Mom, summer's almost over. The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon. You certainly didn't want to spend the last bit of your freedom cooking dinner. You could do that any other day. Please, can we stay a little bit longer? We have to keep playing before it's too late. It is almost over. You get put on your best puppy dog eyes and you just going home. Oh no, the shark's eating one of our mom's faces. The whale shark. It's not eating her. I shouldn't say that. It is blocking her face though. I'm just gonna... I didn't see what the hell I just picked. Mom raised a brow, the corner of her mouth lifting before she pursed her lips. You make it sound like it's the end of the world. It practically is. You nodded vigorously, thankful that you had your sister on your side. Surely your joint effort would wear your mom down.
Please.
Soon we'll have to do homework and reading to do. We can't work. We can't do work now, too. Lizzie made her case and stomped her foot into the ground. You mimicked her, feeling that it would add something to the argument. Well...
No.
Come on, Pam. I can help you with dinner. Mom leaned in for a hug, and you knew that you were very close to victory.
Okay.
All right. But as soon as dinner's ready, you lot are coming inside, understood? Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom. So much to do in so little time. Maybe I could still get a seashell bracelet at Tins and Trinkets, or maybe the playground, or the fireflies are probably coming out, right? I'm making my own plans. Lizzie had her own idea what she wanted to do, but what were you gonna do? A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself.
Rude.
Doesn't the wind know that summer's not over yet? That's all Liz said, for she abruptly turned on her heels and headed off in the direction your mother's had gone. Where are you going? I'm going to my room. I have lots of plans if I want to make the most of tomorrow. You thought this over, looking towards water again. Lizzie didn't wait, and before long, she disappeared down the road. Stayed outside. You watched Lizzie run off, twisting your lips as you considered what to do. In the end, the pretty sky had a soothing sound as the waves won out. You strayed off the path, grinning at the feeling of the sand, quickly filling the empty space in your flip-flops. That was fun for a while, but you grew bored eventually. How else could you enjoy the remainder of your time at the beach? Seashells. You walked around the shoreline, peering at any debris that washed up. Most of it seaweed, rocks, and trash, though now and then you'd spot a seashell. You picked up the ones that stood out to you, until you had a nice little collection. It was a great evening, but soon enough you had your fill and were ready to join the rest of your family back home. Not much further down, you spotted a familiar green head of hair moseying along the shore. See what Cove's up to. Curious, you strayed off your path and walked over to him. Cove knelt down, picking up something you quickly identified as a smooth rock. He reared his arm back and then tossed it into the water. You were impressed as far as it got to go. It sailed all the way to the sea. What are you doing? Cove jumped a little, then let out a small giggle. Sorry. What are you doing out here? I asked first. Cove frowned, turning to the waves. Not doing anything, just thinking. Cove was looking down at his cast, scratching idly at the pink surface, even though you were pretty sure that he couldn't feel it. His brow was furrowed and there was a frown on his face.
It's not fair.
I've had to wear this cast for ages. I can't even swim. When do you get it off? Cove shrugged and didn't say anything. For a second you thought maybe he didn't know, but he finally sighed. A few weeks. That is a while away. You hoped the upcoming weeks flew by for Cove. It was clear how badly he wanted it off. Let out a puff, plopping down on the sand. I can't believe summer's almost over. Sat down next to him, nodding in agreement, regardless of the sudden change of topic. I don't want to go to school. I mean, I would, but I don't want to go to a new school. I think I'll be in the same school as you and Lizzie. My dad said something about that. So why don't you want to go? It's nice as far as school goes. You'd only ever been to one school, but you were sure that his old school couldn't have been much better. And again, he did have to make new friends, meet new teachers. It could be kind of scary. Cove shook his head, then wrapped his good arm around his knees as he drew them to his chest. You heard a sniffling sound, and when you took a good look at his face, you realized his eyes were wet.
I want to go home.
Silence. You weren't sure what to do. It felt weird just to have to leave him there crying, but what could you say that would help? Frowned a little, starting to stand. Well, bye then. Cove gave his head a small shake. No, I want to go back home. Right. Cove wanted to go back to his old home, the one that sat waiting someplace far from here, the one he would bring up whenever he felt this sad. It had been a while since he'd moved in, but he still didn't seem to feel any better about being here. He settled back down in the sand, trying to consider what to do. Do you hate it here? This can be your home. It'll be alright. I don't know why I'm saving right here, but I feel like it. Choices. It'll be alright. Sometimes when you were sad about something, your moms would say that to you, and the moment you thought it couldn't possibly be alright because Sir Stuff-a-Lot lost his arm. What? Or when you because Sir Stuff-a-Lot lost his arm, or skinned your knee, or you couldn't possibly finish all your vegetables. But in the end, they were always right. You're not gonna leave, right? You'll still be around? The question was a little surprising. Of course. Your parents would have mentioned if you were going to move or something, right? After a second, Cove gave a little nod. Once I get my cast off, could we go swimming? We were fine with him changing the subject again. Yeah, that would be fun. Cove smiled and looked back at the waves. My dad keeps saying I'll get used to everything eventually. That I'd feel better. It used to make me angry. I don't want to get used to everything. You spared a glance over at Cove and saw the anger had slipped off his face in favor of something almost puzzled. But maybe that would be okay after all, as long as I really do feel better. I can't see it. Two of you sat quietly, just taking in the sound of the waves. Lost in thought, you stared a bit when you heard a faint, familiar sound, the sound of your mom shouting your name. Looked over your shoulder, realizing it was probably time for dinner. Had you guys really been sitting out there that long? Stood up and dusted the sand off yourself. My mom's calling. It's time for dinner. You should come. Cove looked at you, his expression screaming reluctant, yet ultimately. Okay. When you smiled, Cove returned with one of his own. But the two of you can't stay there in your own little world any longer. You're being called forward. So the both of you ran towards your house, leaving the waves and summer behind. I like how they chose poppies to be like the main flower for, to be like the main thing that sticks out the most in this game. Oh, I forgot what we looked like. I can change up the hairstyle. I can also change the hair color. I didn't know I could pick that. Why not? Dress and skirt's gonna go. Do we change up the hair at all? Hair color, hairstyle? We're going into stage 2. I think it's just I don't remember what stage 2 is. Fuck. It's like 4 stages, with 4 being like an ending, so you don't actually really play anything in it. I'm gonna go ahead and change up my hair, or at least how it looks. Probably not color. I think I'm going the wrong way. We can change the hair color too. I'll change the back hair color. Okay, so we're on beige. Do we want to go with an unnatural color or like a natural color? Because we have a few choices for colors. We can dye just the back or the front half. We don't have to dye the back, we can always dye the front too. I like pink, blue, or red. Red, pink, blue. Does anyone else have an input? Let me go back to beige for a second. Because I don't care what color it is. I'm gonna be completely transparent. I will not remember what we look like. So. See, I kind of hope they update this game to give you the choice to have your like little character icon pop up, like when you talk. Cause in their second game, in air quotes, they have the choice where you can have an icon. It's basically this doll right here, and it does that for all the characters. But it helps you keep, I guess, in mind what your character looks like. But I don't know. They are working on that, actively working on that game once it comes out. Which, EO, speaking of that game, when I was reading through some stuff, I remember you mentioned how you were wishing that you could have like a polyamorous relationship with the 2 characters. They put that if they had the time and the funding, that they may be able to. Pink and blue hair. Okay, we'll do pink on the back for now. And then, you know what? No, we'll do pink and blue. Fuck it. We can always change it back or change the color. Okay, so we can't change anything over here. I don't think it'll physically let us. Birthmarks and scars I'm gonna leave as is. We can choose to have like glasses or earrings or well, the lips I guess doesn't matter. I know I can, I'm not going to. I don't see the point in being able to change it. I changed the clothing types. We can choose to have, so in this one I know you do, in step 2 or 3, it does mention at one point, because you're looking at a mirror, you can mention whether or not like you're tall or short, or in like what build you have. So we could change stuff up so that it actually matches, or we could just leave this as is. Oh, we can also always change the pronouns. Alright, leave it. We can change the pronouns or the first name. We can't change this. This won't change. But we can change the name if we felt like it, or any of the pronouns. Or we could just leave the pronouns as is. I think, honestly, the only thing I would change is maybe the pronouns. I don't care much for changing the name. So I think, honestly, as of now, I'm going to leave basically everything except the hair as is. Because the hair and the clothing is the only thing we changed. We're just going to leave everything else. Alright, so we can continue to be indifferent, fond, crush. We can't choose this one yet. And we can choose to continue staying relaxed or change. I'm gonna go to fond, at least. We can go to fond. At least fond and relaxed for now. I won't be able to change this till step 3, I am aware. Oh, we can customize stuff with Cove. I can customize it or I can leave it. We could just leave it be. I don't know how to... I think I would pick neither, not to customize either, but I'm not sure. We don't have to, though. True. Oh, yeah. This is what I think this is what it is gonna be. Oh, okay. I guess I could have picked both. Whatever. I didn't change anything anyways. August ended and September began. It was time to go back to school. Lizzie groaned and complained the entire first week. She hated going to classes, but still there were interesting things that couldn't be done anywhere else. You weren't sure how Cove felt about it. He was enrolled that year. That was like a sign. Cove would be staying in Sunset Berg for a while. At school, he was alright. He kept his distance from other kids, from what you saw anyways. I got an achievement. Usually he treated you like everyone else, passing by as if you didn't know each other. But as the years went on, the two of you acknowledged each other more and more. A friendship started to grow. That year, the divorce of Cove's parents was finalized. You overheard your parents talking about it, saying Cove's dad got full custody. At first, you wondered that meant bad news. It made Mr. Holden cry, apparently. Then you found that meant that Cove would keep living with his dad. He would only stay with his mom a few weeks of the year. Cove cried too, for different reasons, you thought. Seemed like Cove and his dad might move again, but Mr. Holden decided to stay after all. Mom asked him about it once. He said he didn't want to uproot Cove's life for a second time. Mr. Holden tried to get Cove to like Sunset Berg more. He kept encouraging his son to go out and see the place. Sometimes Mr. Holden volunteered you to spend time with Cove. You weren't really sure how well it worked in changing Cove's thoughts on the town, yet it might have been a part of the reason you and Cove ended up growing closer. Cove never talked to anyone about what happened with his parents and withdrew whenever it was brought up. It was hard for him, yet nobody knew how to help. Eventually, Cove started crying on his own, and you couldn't understand what had changed. You still worried about him. You could tell he wasn't completely happy. Maybe one day he could say out loud how he felt inside. After all, it felt like things had gone back to normal, except what was normal didn't stay the same. Years passed, and suddenly you were in middle school. You weren't a kid anymore. You were 13 years old. It officially made you a teen, even if your sister didn't agree. The toys and crayons that used to litter every free space in your room had been packed away somewhere, replaced by new hobbies. There were other changes too. Cove's cast had gotten taken off. It was weird to see him without it. It was weird to see him without it initially. Underneath that pink plaster ended up being a long, thin scar that snaked along his forearm. Cove's cheeks flushed with shy pride when someone drew attention to it. He also went through a major growth spurt. He was the tallest student in his class for 2 years in a row. Cove will probably hold that spot again next time. In class, people knew him for more than just being tall. He also stood out because of how well he did in gym and other athletic situations. Over the years, he became more quiet and reserved. You didn't usually see him talking to other people. And the only other kid that came to visit the neighborhood when we were little, Shilin, well, he was gone. He and his mom moved back south because of her work, and just 1 year after Cove came to Sunset Bird. It'd really been upsetting when he left. Lizzie was inconsolable for weeks, but nobody talked about Shilin anymore. It was a long time ago. You learned some heartbreaking things, become less sad the further away they were, even if they had never gotten any better. It was sad in its own way. Things at home were different now. You still lived in the same house and all that, but it wasn't how it was before. Ma dyed her hair purple, wanting something new, and liked it, so she kept dyeing it. You remember calling her mom as a kid. Something like that seemed awkward nowadays. You were much too old for the word. Lizzie felt too mature for her nickname and insisted everyone start calling her Elizabeth, so you did. Your mom soon gave her permission to go to places other than the playground and the shopping street, which she took advantage of. You rarely saw her around the old neighborhood. In fact, she hardly spent time with you the way she did before. Elizabeth insisted on associating more and more with the girls from school who were her age. Maybe the difference between 13 and 15 was greater than the difference between 8 and 10. You started to befriend new people yourself, like Derek. He didn't live in the neighborhood or go to the same school. I don't like him. What happened was his and Code's dad struck up a business partnership a few months ago. Since then, Derek would pop up in the area every now and then. It seemed that Mr. Suarez was happy to let Derek tag along with his work if Derek had the time for it. Without a doubt, everyone and everything around you had changed in small and big ways. You had too. As time went on, though, it seemed it was easy to settle into this new normal. Then, before you, school was over and summer vacation had come again. It was the first day of summer vacation. The sun was hot as ever, but you were inside away from its harsh rays. More specifically, you were. I can be sleeping in, or I can just be awake. I don't think it matters. I'm gonna save again. But, why do I... Oh. Damn. Hold up. I can just load the save file. It was hot, but you still had the blanket up over your head to block out the sun. You didn't want to intrude on your lazy morning. Unfortunately, you hadn't prepared for an intrusion. From beneath the blanket, you heard the door creak open. You're still sleeping? Wow. Get up. Go away. You pretended to be asleep. You got up. You started to fake snore loudly or mourning. fake snore. Got it. You didn't get out of bed, instead made some obnoxiously loud and totally phony sleeping sound. It was pretty annoying, but she had bothered you first. Ugh, not funny. Get up now. I will come over there. So much for a lazy morning. Mom told me that your friend's at the door. He brought some happy summer gift from Mr. Holden. Mom wants you to take it from him. Say thanks or whatever.
Come on.
So come down already. Fine. Elizabeth said nothing else, left, having done what was instructed of her. Rolled out of bed, stretching your arms up high and yawning, time to get ready. You sat yourself in front of the mirror in the far corner of your room. Okay, so you can choose to be very short, very tall, or just average height. Like tall or like one of these two? Okay, well, in all honesty, I don't care about being tall. I've never cared about being tall. We'll just pick average height. Cove was really tall. Derek was kind of short. You were pretty much the exact height of someone who that someone would expect of for a 13-year-old. I don't know. Most people don't really know how to feel about their height at the age. Things kept changing with the height you actually had and what the impression of that height was based on your age. It was confusing. Then you put the finishing touches of your outfits while ruminating the situation, careless as they had been. Elizabeth's words piqued your curiosity. You planned on going to see what Cove was up to, so this worked in your favor. Your reflection grinning back at you. You were looking forward to seeing him. You left your room, taking an easy time down the stairs. Step 2. Second chance. I'm gonna save right. Oh, goddammit. I didn't read what was going on. You spotted Mom first, reclining on the couch. She had a magazine in her hands, which she was perusing through. Morning, Mom. She looked up at your greeting, a smile instantly appearing on her face.
Thanks.
Morning. Thank you for coming down. Mom's at the door with Cove. He can't stay over today, unfortunately. Why don't you go thank him before he leaves? You nodded and made your way to the front of the house, just as she said. Mom was there making conversation. She must have heard you because she looked over her shoulder.
Oh.
Oh, look who finally made it. Morning, sleepyhead. Ma reached forward and you knew she was about to pat your head. She was taller than average, so you were little in her eyes, despite being a typical size for your age. Happily let her do it. That type of small affectionate exchange was nice. She placed the whole of her hand on top of your head for a second before lifting it back up. You're the last one down today. Did you know that? Life isn't a race. Morning. Is that all? You really are a sleepyhead right now. Small laugh, Ma stepped aside. Cove was just as you remembered it, exactly as you came to know him to be. He leaned uncomfortably to the side of your doorway, his hair bushy, as his bushy hair covered part of his eyes. His features were pinched in embarrassment, and he shifted from one foot to another. He was holding what must have been the much talked about gift. At first glance, you figured it must be a bouquet of flowers, then you gave it a real look. No, instead it was carefully cut fruit. It made a lot of sense that it was actually from Cove's dad. You had to suppress laughter at this showing. Couldn't imagine many folks buying this sort of thing for their own personal enjoyment. That kind of arrangement was built for presentation, likely to impress whoever was inevitably going to receive it. No matter how long he lived there, Mr. Holden would keep going out of his way to be neighborly, and Cove always seemed to be roped into participating. Cove smiled slightly at the sight of you. The sting of his goofy errand. He was clearly embarrassed too embarrassed to be uneasy. Hey. You earnestly grinned back. It wasn't weird at all, like it used to be when you were kids. As time passed, you two started to enjoy each other's company. Now you'd actually consider him a good friend, not someone you were just forced to be around by your families. Hey, it's really nice to see you. Yeah, you too. You were certain he meant that agreement. It was already shaping up to be another long summer with plenty of time for you to have fun together. His awkwardness over the task certainly started to creep back in, so Cove nudged the gift towards you. He was ready to be relieved of it, that the gift was accepted. Well, that's everything, he thought, and made no move to go. You could tell he was reluctant to. These are our choices. It does matter, but I don't think I shouldn't really be saying the choices don't matter, because like they do to a pretty good extent. Yeah, I know they matter. I just tell your dad we like the gift. Yeah. Mr. Holden's behavior really was different from any neighbor you'd ever had. Though after 5 years you were used to his antics, and since you'd made up your mind on what your opinion was. Nice, funny, weird, you didn't like him, he was great. He was kinda great. No. He was nice. You knew he wasn't completely perfect, but he always seemed to try his hard for the sake of others. Your thoughts were quickly interrupted by a shout. There you are. You shared a confused look with Cove as both of you stepped through the door and looked onto the neighbor on the street. Didn't take long to locate the source of the noise. You spotted Derek just a few yards down the road. He ran up to you, confused. You didn't expect to see Derek today, though you never really knew when he'd appear. After stopping a couple steps away, Derek hunched over to catch his breath. Then he looked up with a wide grin.
Hey.
Hey, guy and pal. I was just at your house, Cove, but no one was there, so I should have figured that you would be at Tokiko's place. Do you ever spend time in your own home, or are you always just always there? Derek laughed at his own joke. He either didn't notice that it embarrassed Cove, or the embarrassment was what he was actually laughing at. Derek turned to you. He was going to say more, but I gasped and widened. What is that? Followed his gaze, unsure. You didn't really meant. You were still holding Mr. Holden's gift. This bouquet of flowers is what's made out of fruit.
Nice.
Nice. Can I have some? It's a gift for my family. Derek patted your words, not hiding his disappointment. Aw, okay. Then he nodded his head as if clear of it. Anyway, that's right. I came here because I needed to say something big. He paused, possibly for effect. There's some other kid here in Sunset Bird. Cove was surprised, as you were, by the news. Such a reaction made sense. No one around your age had moved here since Cove did 5 years ago. Were they with their family? Maybe they were cutting through. Nuh-uh. New kid, all by himself, just walking. Did you talk to him? Nope. I came to report the sighting right away. Kid had green hair, glasses, was pretty small, and seemed really upset about something. I hope he didn't leave. Blink slowly, looked over at your long-time neighbor. Sounds a lot like you, Cove, when you got here anyway. Does it? He shook his head, dismissing the thought from his mind. Derek snickered good-naturedly. I can see that really well. Now that you say so. What do you say? Let's go find Cove's look-alike. We should all meet him. I'll do it. Sure, I want to see who this person is. And point down the street the way he came. Last I saw him, the mystery visitor was going this direction. Nothing else was needed to be said. All three of you were off. Why do I have the fruit with me? Did I still have the fruit with me? Whatever. Derek brushed to the beach. As a trio, you made your way down the shore to the old playground. You walked the familiar path in a comfortable silence. When you were almost there, you spotted the kid in question. His bright colors almost shone like a beacon beneath the rays of the sun. He scuffled around, kind of kicking the sand as he paced. It was true. He certainly seemed upset, but you didn't think he was sad, like you had originally pictured. No, with his erratic movements and scrunched up expressions, he came off as angry. You started to have doubts about this expedition. Maybe better if you'd leave him alone and let him sort this thing out himself. He looked at Cove, who equally reluctant to start up a conversation. Derek didn't feel the same. He waved wildly, calling out to the boy, "Hey, guy, over here." The kid whipped around, an impressive scowl carved deeper in his face. His eyes were tired, but a strong hostile energy still radiated off of him.
What?
What? What is it? What do you want? Damn. This kid's been a dick. His sharp tone made Derek flinch. He shifted on his feet. What's your name? Jeremy. Was that it?
No.
No, I'm Derek. That's Tokiko and Cove. We were just walking around and saw you. We wanted to say hi. There aren't a lot of kids our age in the neighborhood. Yeah. So, it's cool to see someone else here. Strangely. Oh, ow. Shit. Strangely, Jeremy grew furious by your response. Steam could erupt from a person's ears. It definitely would happen then. Did they bring me somewhere? They did bring me somewhere stupid. Of course, I knew it. What?
My parents.
My parents, the one who brought me here. I didn't walk to this town. Could you not have? Can you not figure that out on your own? Right. My dad brings me here. Brings me Sunset Bird too when he has to come for work and all of that stuff. It's not bad. That earned him a glare from Jeremy. Derek winced behind it, glancing away. It was a struggle to remain friendly with this Jeremy guy. I mean, I wouldn't want to come here for a real vacation, probably, either. That's an understatement. This doesn't count as a vacation. It's a waste of time, a chore. My parents' family's nearby, and we just had to come see them. Ugh. They're your parents' family. Doesn't that make them your family too?
I guess.
Damn. That's a pretty good reason to come by. Did you want to go somewhere else? No. Jeremy crossed his arms with a huff. He turned away. They should have gone by themselves since they care so much and left me home, but I'm not allowed to be by myself. It makes no sense. They're the ones who don't know how to do anything, and I'm the kid. Kept quiet. You shouldn't talk about your parents like that. Sorry, I must suck to be forced to do something you don't want to. We just said hi. You don't have to be planning to. Let's calm down. You don't have to yell so much. Who peed in your cereal this morning? I should be polite, but hear me out, and I think you all know where I'm going with this. Jeremy's lips curled as his face contorted from anger to horror.
That's disgusting.
Why would you think of something like that? It's disgusting.
Sheesh.
Just an expression. Took a deep breath. He thought for one hopeful second. Maybe he was calming himself down. He was not. So what? You're putting it into people's heads. I don't want to have to think about it. And someone brainless might decide it's a good idea and actually do it. There's some real stupids out in the world, You're all living proof of that. Hey, we're not stupid. Stop it. You first. You turned to Cove, lowering your voice. The two of you aren't that similar after all. Jeremy must have good hearing, though, because he caught the private exchange and scoffed.
Stupid.
Of course we're not similar. My eyebrows aren't stupid. I'd say yours are worse. Let's all be transparent here. Out of the three of you, you have the worst. You have the worst eyebrows and the worst haircut. They're special and unique. special because of how ridiculous they look, maybe. You! I've never liked this dude. I can lunge at him? I shouldn't. Why? Why not? How about I pick it and then I just go back to the safe? I did just save. I'm gonna pick it and then I'm gonna go back to the save. Because I really want to. Oh, I can only choose to spook him.
Wow, what is wrong with you?
Damn, this is dumb. You're dumb. Stuck out his tongue and sulked away. What is he, 6? Throwing more sand everywhere as he went, you watched him go, hunched over until he became a specter in your vision. Silence reigned in his wake. The three of you tried to process what just happened. I can't believe it. What do I mean, kid? Derek wasn't kidding. By the sounding of those earlier complaints, the new boy Jeremy was going to be in the area for at least a little while this summer. Derek sighed dismissively. Apparently he is. Yeah. Plopping onto the ground, you followed, and Cove shortly did after. There wasn't much else to do.
Sucks.
This sucks. So we can meet someone fun, hang out, maybe. He shook his head after a moment. He slowly turned due to hopeful expression. Okay. I could go back, but I think I'm just gonna leave it as this, because it's fine. I could have probably actually fought him, but probably not.
This sucks.
Okay. He shook his head. But you know what could really improve the day? What? He responded and instead used his hand to point right at the fruit arrangement that you were still holding. You completely forgot about the mini drama that unfolded. You got used to its weight. Classic over Cove, you know, he was eyeing the fruit. He must want some too. Ooh. Fuck it. Derek perked up immediately at your words. He reached for a skewer, hesitantly slightly when he was only inches
Are you
away.
sure?
Nodded with an eager grin. He plucked a prime row of fruits. Cove grabbed one for himself after him. You're the only one without a skewer of your own. Strawberry. The strawberry was bright red and beckoning to you. It was obviously the first choice. Derek ate a pineapple skewer enthusiastically, finishing it within moments. This is amazing. Cove continued munching on his, making small noises, mouthful. Hey, do you remember the land before time? That fruit thing that makes that fruit thing makes me think of the dinosaurs that all liked the leaves that were shaped like stars. I don't know what time frame this is, but this is the only thing I can truly appreciate. Because that is an amazing series. Tree stars. Yes.
Yeah.
Chomping on the leaves looked so delicious when they did it. And there was that scene with the pretty trees and all the dinosaurs came in and picked everything off till there was nothing less. That's us right now. Awesome. I like that movie. Me too. The three of you continued like this for the next few minutes. Eventually, the display was barren. Oh, I didn't see what the fifth one was. Oh well. It looked weird when devoid of fruit. It had made you feel better. Derek was right. It was good. You were already brightening up from the earlier drama. Hey, Tokiko. Yeah? Tokiko met eyes casually. Were you seriously gonna hit that guy? No. I just knew you'd get scared over it.
Phew.
That was pretty bad.
I mean,
I thought it was cool. fool.
Ugh.
Oh, you're both crazy people. You knew when Derek said things like that, it wasn't serious. He liked you and Cove. Yeah. Derek leaned back on his arms. He contemplated the sky with a content sigh. So, are you two both ready for summer break? Are you? Well, it feels like there's a lot to plan for. What about you, Cove? Are you ready? I think that depends. Before you could say anything, the light atmosphere was shattered. Hey! I'm gonna hear so much bitching for the fruit. Lazarus who strode closer, appearing not to be pleased. It's looking all over for you. Mom said you and Cove ran off with the thing Mr. Holden brought us. She sneered over you with... It's gone. What do you mean it's gone? You moved aside, facing her completely. She zeroed on the bouquet in your flowers, which was now populated exclusive with skewers dripping in juice and tiny flakes of leftover fruit pieces. Her mouth dropped open, the tone of her voice rose.
What?
Seriously, what were you thinking? That was supposed to be for all of us at home. She glanced over at Cove, who sat beside you, continued mockingly. Even if you did have an in with the delivery boy, this was up to Mr. Holden. Bent smile of support, which didn't help disprove her accusation. It wasn't us. Seagull came down and ate it while we weren't looking. The seagull one's funny, but like clearly isn't gonna. I'm gonna pick this one. What kid? I don't see anyone. Hopped up gladly to take the opportunity to exit the situation. He followed up to Derek, but said to look from you off your shoulder. You turned to watch Elizabeth. She stared back, brow raised, ran. Without a word, you two got to your feet and bolted down the beach. Unimpressed, Elizabeth rolled her eyes.
Sure.
Yeah, whatever. She shook her head as she walked towards the house, not bothering whatsoever to follow. Meanwhile, the three of you made it back to the shoreline. Derek pumped his fist, grinning triumphantly. We escaped and shall live to see another day. My mom's gonna be so mad. Oh well. Chuckled together, walking further down the beach side by side. You definitely wanted to stay outside a little while longer. You had gotten a bit of a scolding from your moms for not saving any of Mr. Holden's gift for Elizabeth, but you didn't get any real punishment for it. Instead, while you were out with the boys, Elizabeth returned home to share the news. Three of them went to get dessert of their own. It was declared even by your parents when everyone got back and everything was settled. That was a while ago now. Later tonight, you found yourself sitting near the kitchen counter. Your fingers on the surface as you waited, your gaze trained on the phone. You're waiting for a phone call tonight, especially from your cousin Lindrea. You didn't want to miss it accidentally. Your aunt, uncle, and Lee used to live many hours away. Your families only saw each other a few times a year, big occasion, a while back. Though they'd move and were closer than you before, so now you hung out regularly. With school being out, you were positive she was going to want to come over a lot. The two of you were the same age and got along well. She used to be really fond of Lizzie, well, Elizabeth too. But now that your sister had become allergic to interacting with her own family, it tended to just be you and Lee who spent time together. You weren't a girl yourself, so maybe that was why. Mom always said that the quality was more important than the quantity when Elizabeth bemoaned your social circle. You weren't sure how friendship quality was judged, but nevertheless, you thought what you had with Lee was good. Then the shrill of the ringtone announced an oncoming call. You jumped before grabbing the receiver and pressing it to your ear. Who is it? Your worst nightmare. Of course, you knew right away who it was. You laughed. Hi, Lee. You dropping the joke, she laughed too. Hi. There was static on the end as if Lee was shifting wherever she was. Can you believe school's actually over? I never thought it'd be done. Now we don't have to do any of that boring stuff and we can hang out whenever we want. Speaking of hanging out, like, can you hang on a second? Let me just head to my room.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You got from your seat at the counter. Luckily the phone was wireless, so you didn't have to worry about any cords tying you down. Your mom had a rule about not moving the phone unless a call was in progress, which is why you'd sat by its cradle waiting for Lee to call. That made sense. It was nice to keep everything in its proper place. But now that Lee had called, it was okay for you to go upstairs to your bedroom and talk to her. You made your way upstairs smiling. After you had arrived, you shut the bedroom door firmly behind you, took a seat on your bed. Alright, I'm here. Cool. Hey, did you know a girl down the street from me has her own phone now, a cell phone? She doesn't wait for someone else to stop using it or anything. Wow, really? The thought of someone having a phone that was all of their own seemed unbelievable to you, right? Wish I had one too, but my parents said I couldn't get my own phone until I'm more grown up. I wish they'd changed their mind. We'd call each other every single day, and no one would be able to stop us. How great would that be? I'd still be using a home phone. My moms would be able to stop us if they wanted. Lee laughed, but you didn't put a damper on her imagination. Oh, then you have your own phone too. That works. She sighed dramatically. I bet I'm not gonna get one until I'm all the way in college. Squeezing the phone between your shoulder and ear, you puffed up your pillows and made yourself more comfortable. It was strange to think of a time when normal school would be over and you'd have to choose whether or not to go to college. School was a big part of your life right now. I'm gonna do this one. I guess that was reasonable enough. Higher grades. Hope this year you just hope you did as well this year. Shouldn't be a big deal. Things dropped. We'll just do this. Grades were the most important thing, no matter how good or bad they end up being. Yeah. You tried to sound engaged, but your mind had decided to go back to the school despite the season. Lee knew you too well to be fooled.
What's up?
You sound spacey. What's up? Just thinking about school. Lee groaned. Thinking about that? Are you thinking about how we don't have to think about it because it's summer? That's what I'm doing. Yeah, everyone in class would sign it. Maybe some of the teachers too. Though I guess school isn't all the way bad. You can do some good things there. You can just do more when school's out. It's the easiest way to hang out with people that's not in the neighborhood. If I didn't go to school, I'd never meet anyone new. No one really comes here. Lucky. Mine's boring. I wish everyone did okay with how they. I just wish everyone did okay with how they taught things. Not just some people.
Me too.
Me too. That was all. It's pretty much everything that's good about school. Okay, point taken. I declare the topic of school is officially closed. We have to talk about summer first before we start plotting the rest of our lives. I've already got some plans already. Ooh, tell me. I'm gonna visit my cousins. You chuckled, of course. What's something you want to do? The first thing that comes to your head. Spend time at the beach. Could have guessed that one. Lean back in your bed, settling as you continue chatting with your friend. Even though it hadn't been long since you and her you'd be seeing her, you found plenty to talk about. One, the events of the day, you sat up straighter. I was with Cove and Derek today, and we met a new kid. Oh, like at your neighborhood? Mm-hmm. His parents are visiting family, so it sounds like he'll be around for a while. I don't know how long. What is he like? Mean. He kept snapping when we all all we were trying to do was talk to him. We just kept being rude to everyone, especially Cove. It was awful. I don't think I want to meet him. You wanted Boyd to stay away before even meeting him? That's an unexpected twist. Your cousin was pretty popular with the boys who knew her. She seemed happy enough to have them around until they started to annoy her. Who are you talking to? Cove and Derek are always around. They're both boys, you know. Lee laughed at your denial, deeply amused. Even though she couldn't see you, you shook your head at her, grinning to yourself. There was a stomping noise approaching your room, heralding the arrival of your irritated oldest. She flung the door open, a frown etched on her face.
Come on.
How long are you gonna hog the phone? You glanced at your watch. You realized that your quick call had gone on much longer than anticipated. Elizabeth held out her hand. The other one lodged on her hip. She noticed the realization on your face. Time's up. Still using it. Not anymore. I don't get everything in the world. Neither do you. I'm not the one asking for it. You had your turn, and now you want to get mine too because you were first. In your dreams, I'll get Mom's. Fine. Damn. Lee, I have to go now. Okay, see you. Tell Elizabeth and your moms I said hi too. You barely pressed the end call when Elizabeth whisked the handset from your fingers and began dialing someone new as she strode out the room. Your mom's voice called from downstairs. Hey, has anyone seen the phone? I'm using it. With that, she shut the door behind you. Silence fell in its wake. That was one way to end your first day of summer break. Sometime later, it had gotten dark outside, and you laid in your bed wide awake. Your window rattled all of a sudden, startling you badly. You flinched and staring over with furrowed brows. From your vantage point, you only saw the moon and the open sky. You were confused. What had caused that noise? Frowning, you sat up and moved closer to the window. You might as well find the reason behind the disturbance. To your utter shock, your gaze was met by familiar ocean blue eyes. Cove? You squinted. Yep, Cove was right outside your window. Your house was very angular, and some parts stuck out further than others, so it theoretically wouldn't be hard to climb around on. Still, just because someone could didn't mean you expect it to ever happen. To his credit, Cove was doing fine. His feet were braced against a section of the wall that jutted out, his arms flexing with effort to keep him upright. He easily lifted a hand and waved at you from the other side of the glass. You hurriedly opened up the window. Cove climbed over the ledge and released a breath once he was safely inside. Hey. He's lucky I didn't... Is everything okay? What happened and what's up, Romeo, seem the most enticing and funny ones to pick. I think I'm gonna ask him what happened. I wanted to see you, figured it was the only way. If I rang the doorbell, your moms would have answered and they'd just make me go home. Anyway, while I explain why I was coming over anyways. I don't want to talk about it. Well, besides with you, I mean, that's why I did that. As unexpected as this was, you were touched that Cove felt like he could tell you what was wrong. I might have tried calling or something, except my dad was on the phone. Cove suddenly looked very crossed. He was talking to my mom. Still is, probably. You raised your eyebrows. Had Cove eavesdropped on his parents' phone's conversation? You didn't comment on him eavesdropping. There were other things to talk about. Are you going to stay with your mom for a while again? Every year, Cove was sent off to live with his mom for a few weeks. When it happened varied. Sometimes he'd go during winter break, but usually he went during summer. Even though it was hard news when you found out he was leaving, leaving and you'd miss seeing him those weeks, you understood. You're surprised, however, he shook his head. That's what I thought too, but no, that's not what they're saying. My dad asked my mom to not have me leave this year. He said she could come stay with us here. He waited for him to continue, but he didn't. The conversation abruptly dropped off. Couldn't help but stare at Cove. There was a complicated mix of expressions on his face. What did your mom say? She told him she'd come. I know she's coming soon, before school starts. Oh. You had heard Cove talk about his mom a lot over the years. He'd tell you about past memories or what happened while he was visiting her, but still was one thing to hear about someone and actually meet them very soon. You're going to be seeing Cove's mom in person. You were taken back by the news, so you can only imagine how Cove felt. You looked over at him, pacing your room, his features pained with dread. Before they barely could stay in the same room long enough to have lunch. Now we're all going to be together again, all three of us, after all this time, just for a few weeks. I know I should probably be happy they can talk to each other now, but I'm still not. I'm just confused and freaked out, and now I feel really bad for feeling this way.
Okiko.
It's so. His fist tightened, his eyes became misty. I shouldn't keep getting like this. It's been a long time already. I'm not a little kid. Though he wouldn't meet your eyes, he knew you were waiting for you to say something. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. Cove looked uncomfortable with the whole situation. He didn't have to open up like this. Thanks, and sorry for dumping this on you. I didn't know what to do. You were the only thing I could come up with. A moment's silence fell over you two. You marveled on how the day started. How you woke up eager for summer vacation, but now this seems so crazy. The mini debacle with Mr. Holden's gift was the newest addition to the neighborhood, and the newest addition being neighborhood being so rude. And as if that was all not enough, Cove's mom would be living with Cove and his dad again. Your whole life was kind of like that. It seemed complicated and hard and different. Why couldn't things just get better with time? Said quietly, pulled you from your thoughts. Cove gazed at you, concerned.
Are you okay?
I'm worried about you. You don't have to forget about yourself for me. I want to listen to you too. Cove grinned reassuringly. It was small and delicate, but you knew it was genuine. He had come here, conflicted and upset, only to end up worrying about you instead. He really was a great friend. You know, I think I don't want to talk anymore about this. He looked away, his lips thinning in a line, rubbing at his arm. But I kind of don't want to go home either. Could I stay for a little longer, just doing something else? He looked equal parts hopeful and vulnerable. How could you possibly turn him away? Of course. You held his gaze confidently, hoping your words got across to him. Cove perked up at your response, a smile appearing on his face. He immediately took a seat on your bed, not afraid to get comfortable in your room. Felt a bit better at the sight somehow. You still had a lot of worries, but you were glad he was right. He was here. And not just tonight, you were glad that he came into your life in the first place. This was a change you never want to undo. Who would have thought that Cove would mean so much to you? You certainly hadn't in the beginning. You had kept your distance, and so had he. Now you consider him to be one of your closest friends. You joined Cove on your bed, taking a seat across from him. He smiled at you again, but you could tell this time it was half-hearted. It was still easy to read. Though he didn't want to talk about his mom and dad, he must be thinking about what happened and what's about to happen. Hug him. I do hug people when I don't know what to do when they're uncomfortable or upset. I don't always hug people, especially if I don't know them very well. But like the people I'm close with and stuff, I will hug. It's like first instinct. It wasn't much, but you hoped the contact would help even a little. Cove froze up, startled. After a moment, his arms came up, and he returned your hug. Two of you remained like that for some time. He might have mumbled something to you, but it was too quiet to tell what it was. When he pulled back, his expression had softened to something more natural. The conversation was stilted and broken out and by silence at first, but then both of you were able to get your usual candor. As your hangout session stretched on, you thought that you truly wanted to keep having moments like this with him. You hoped the day would never come when life decided that the two of you would part ways. You knew Cove felt the same. You opened your eyes, tired, groaning as adjusting the bright light that was streaming through your windows, warming your peachy skin. With a loud yawn, you rolled away from the sunlight, blinking a couple of times, clearing sleep from your eyes before realizing with a start it was actually morning. Couldn't remember even falling asleep. Cove had crept through your window during the night, and the two of you spent some time together, trying not to wake your parents. You must have fallen asleep while you were hanging out, but couldn't simply put a finger on exactly when. You wonder how Cove stayed late for heading home. You rubbed your face, yawning again, contemplating whether you should get out of bed and get ready for the day, so you snuggled in for a little while. Your gaze landed on an instantly recognizable mop of pale green hair, and you bolted upright and gasped in surprise. He never left. He was still there, in the morning. Laughed. He'd fallen asleep while sitting on the ground and precariously leaning his head on the side of your mattress. With a laugh, Cove's eyes snapped open and his head slipped from the source of its support. He didn't stop going down until he smacked right on the floor with a crack, clamped a hand over your mouth, and looked down at him. Wide eyes curled up where he landed rather ungracefully. Ow. Are you okay? You winced at his tumble, hoping no one else in the house had heard either of your outbursts. Yeah, I'm alright. Cove rubbed his forehead a little, and you weren't sure if that was entirely true. If either of your moms found out Cove had slept here last night, the two of you would be in big trouble. Cove blinked at you a few times, his eyes growing in panic as some thought that could only he could hear settle in his mind.
Oh my god!
I fell asleep. You weren't exactly sure what to do when you watched Cove face around your room, looking around frantically. Cove's hands flew to his face, letting a sigh of relief when he found his glasses wherever they were supposed to be. Despite that, he hadn't calmed down completely. The atmosphere was still frazzled. Just calm down. You whispered to Cove harshly, trying to keep your voice down. We won't get caught as long as you're quiet. Cove nodded, his shoulders tensing as he fixed you with a firm stare with his turquoise eyes. Letting out a heavy sigh, he ran a hand through his hair, the exasperation. He couldn't look at you again when he spoke. I'll see you later. You were confused by how all this had played out, but hoped it was true. Right. Bye, Cove. Now that you were suddenly wrapped in a tight embrace, as panicked as he was, it seemed like it was something he couldn't forget before leaving. Thanks. Again. You're a good friend. He firmly whispered the words on top of your shoulder. Before you were let go, if you had a chance to respond or fully react. In a matter of seconds, he climbed over your bed, opened the window. The cool breeze rolled off the ocean, fluttering through Cove's hair and filling your room with salty scent. Cove fearlessly stepped out onto the ledge. Wished him luck. Good luck, be super careful. You weren't sure if he had heard you or not, but he kept going along, one foot in front of the other, with increasing speed until his form disappeared out of sight. You stuck your head out of the window as far as it could, trying to keep watch. He walked the full length of the ledge before jumping down on top of the garage, then lowered himself onto the fence, and from there he finally dropped to the ground. You threw a thumbs up at a successful climb. He ran off towards his house without stopping, disappearing behind the side of another building. You had to admit you were pretty impressed at the how doable he made it look. With a sigh, you reclosed your window, declaring that there was nothing more you could do. You hopped off your bed and got ready to head downstairs for the day. Made the bed. Habit of yours, you straightened up your sheets, smoothed over your comforter, and fluffed your pillows before stepping back to admire your work. You took the stairs, slowly attempting to mask your face into a look of innocence. You were sure that someone would have come to your room had they heard anything strange, but you couldn't be too careful to play it cool. When you stepped into the living room, Elizabeth was there, tapping her finger on the counter. Good morning, Elizabeth. She looked at you immediately, her eyes squinting at the
Why?
greeting. Why are you being so weird? You hadn't done anything. Your big sister never missed a beat, unfortunately. You turned to offer a smile, her lips pursed together even tighter. Takiko. Shrugged it off. Not. Oh, the second one. I didn't say it before. You spoke so nonchalantly, you almost thought she believed you, but you knew better. Further suspicious squinting occurred. She waited for something, but ultimately she rolled her eyes, and you weren't sure if you were in trouble or not. She didn't seem to care enough to dig any further. And then she walked straight out the front door, letting it slam shut behind her, and you let out a brief sigh. Elizabeth went out most days to hang out with her friends from school around town. Today, you were extra glad for it, though you were also grateful she hadn't left the house any sooner and risked running into Cove. It looked like you were getting away with that. Breakfast was eaten in peace and alone. Your moms were both out by the time you had gotten up. They had left you a serving of food from breakfast. They had made hash browns, an omelet, fruit salad, and there were a few sausage links. Not everything. It was tasting you appreciated the variety of them in the meals your moms made. The day lazily drifted by at home, and eventually your parents returned. You pulled open the fridge again, lingering in the frosty air for a moment or two before grabbing a bottle of ice-cold water and taking a long drink. It's perfect. Balmy summer afternoon. You had decided to head outdoors to find something to do. You hadn't decided on what that something was just yet, but you were sure something would pop up to occupy your time. As you're heading out the front door, you paused for a moment. You hadn't seen Cove since he left that morning, and you couldn't help but think about what had happened to him. Would it be bad to go over to his house right now or call to check it in? You stepped out your house, still stuck in an internal debate with yourself when a voice caught your attention. Hi. Confused, you looked over at an unrecognizable woman at you, friendly as smile plastered on her face. You racked your memory from where you might have seen her before, but nothing came to mind. Not your school, not from the country club your moms took you to. You had no clue who this woman was. Woman crossed the road towards you. You were still a little unsure whether you should stay put or go back to the house and knock the door. Oh, whoops. I'm sorry. Was that presumptuous? I've heard about you, but you have no idea who I am, do you? You shook your head, and she removed her sunglasses to reveal sparkly ocean blue eyes. All of a sudden, she seemed a little more familiar. My son lives here, my ex too. With a bent smile, she lifted a hand and pointed to the condo across the street from your own house. She was Cove's mom. You didn't know why you hadn't recognized her sooner, and now that you'd gotten a good look at her, she felt different. In a little time, yes, and a little time you've been around her, she'd gotten off a totally different impression than Cove did. No matter how your thoughts on her, you still felt taken back that she had appeared so suddenly. Cove mentioned she was coming, but you hadn't expected it would be the very next day. She extended a hand out again, this time for you to take. You studied the manicured fingers in front of your face, with an assortment of bracelets dangling from her wrist. I'm Kira Kreese. You can just call me Kira. You reached out and took her hand. She shook yours firmly, grinning wide. I'm Tokiko, but you already know that.
I do.
That I do. Cove mentioned you to me before. It's nice to officially meet you. Cove talked to you about you to his mom. He hadn't mentioned how he said things about you to her. Nice to meet you too. You smiled. She smiled at you fondly, her eyes crinkling at the corners. The sound of the door opening and closing caught both your attention as you turned towards the sound to find Cove exiting his house, his eyes skimming the ground. Considering on how tall he would have grown, you would have figured his mom also would have been tall, but she was much more on the short side for an adult anyways. Cove's height must have come from his father.
My baby.
There you are. And I thought you were gonna keep me standing out here all day. You tried to catch Cove's eye as he walked towards you, but his gaze was firmly on the sidewalk. When he finally crossed the road and looked up, he gave you a pitiful look. After the way he had acted last night, you knew it must have been he was feeling pretty mixed up about this. You tried to wordlessly express that you understood. Cove and I are heading into town to grab something to eat while the snore is at work. Kyra beamed at Cove and ruffled his hair, which only seemed to upset him more. He assumed the snorer she was talking about was Mr. Holden. Hey, you should come with us. I'd love to get you know you better. Yeah, you should come. There was a pleading tone in his voice you couldn't miss. Are we at 3 hours? Oh, almost at 3 hours. I don't remember how long it is till the moments. And, I don't really want to stream for like 6 hours. There was a pleading tone in his voice you couldn't miss. Of course, we'll run by your parents' first responsibility and all that. It'll give me an excuse to meet them, which I need to do at some point. It's important to be neighborly if I'm going to be roosting on the street for time being. Anyways, anywho's, let's go. Kyra walked ahead towards your house. You hung back with Cove, who wrinkled his nose as he watched her.
Sorry.
I'm sorry about her. I really do want you to come. I don't want it to be just the two of us. Not right now. You leaned in closer and whispered while checking around for anyone who might hear. What happened? Did your dad know you were gone? Cove shook his head and sighed softly. Dad was so focused on Mom showing up he didn't even notice. I thought when I heard them on the phone last night there was something they were planning for the future. This morning, Dad said it was supposed to be a surprise, and I guess I was surprised. She's gonna be here all summer. Oh. You were surprised to hear that too. Cove sighed, again, even heavier. I'll go with you if you really want me to. He smiled, his shoulders relaxing a little in relief. Thanks, that'd be cool. Two of you headed over to Cove's mom had just knocked on your front door and stood behind her. Mom answered the door after a minute, her eyebrows lifting in surprise at the group she found in front of the door. You realized that, like you, she had no idea that this was Cove's mom who was hanging with you. After blinking at the woman a couple times, looking at her between her and Cove, the realization seemed to strike her. Oh, hello there, I'm Pamela.
I see.
I see you've met my kid, Tokiko. I'm guessing you've already known Cove for a while. Kira laughed and you and Cove exchanged looks at your parents' weird sense of humor. I'm Kira Priest. I'm Cove's mom. It's so nice to meet you. A head of purple-brown hair caught your eyes as Mom popped up behind Mom, squeezing herself in beside her. Oh, we have company. I was wondering what all the commotion was. She grinned excitedly at Kira. The two of them introducing themselves and shook hands.
Hello.
Hi, Tokiko, Cove. Cove smiled at Ma shyly. She gestured her hand towards the living room. There's no use in hanging out in the doorway. Why don't you come in? I'd love to, but I promised to take my son out to eat, and I wouldn't want to hold you a surprise visit. Cove grimaced and held back a groan. Likely took offense to how she didn't want to put them out on. Took offense on how she didn't want to put them out with a surprise visit, but not him apparently. I understand. You're welcome to stop by any time. I'll take you up on that offer when I can. Count on it. Would you mind too much if Tokiko went with Cove and I might treat? We won't be driving, just a quick walk down the road. Sure, that sounds nice.
Have fun.
I hope you all have fun. You gave your moms a look, smiled at you fondly. You were happy they let you go. You could tell Cove really needed the support and you were ready to be there for him. Marvelous. Expect us to be back in an hour or two. We'll look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Your parents waved goodbye to the three of you as you backed up onto the street, and there was a sound of the front door closing behind you. Pretty sure I saw some restaurants when I was in the taxi not too far from here. Yeah, it's a tourist town, isn't there? There's a lot of them around. Kira put her hands on her hips and smiled at herself. Well, you should be the area. You sound like the area expert. Do you have any recommendations for a place nearby? Not really. Kira pounded at him, turned at him a little, and turned to you instead. How about you? You want to point me in the right direction? I have a couple favorites. He'd been to a lot of places in town. There were a couple that stood out from all the rest. It's a Chinese restaurant that me and my family go to all the time. It's my mom's favorite. It's also a tropical themed place that tries to be sort of fancy. Both sound like a treat. I'll leave it up to you to pick for us since Kova is going through a phase over there. He huffed and turned his face away. It's okay, Kova, what you tell us? Which one you want more? Mumbled, soapily, willing to reject his mom, but not you. I like the tropical place more. That's what I would have gone for too. With 2 votes in favor of one restaurant, it seemed to be settled. We can go there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Will you show us the way? You nodded, taking the lead of your group as Kova and his mom followed behind you. Together, the 3 of you left the neighborhood behind. The walk was about 15 minutes, along with Kyra asking a lot of questions about the area. Kova was quiet most of the time, so you ended up answering her instead. Kyra explained that she lived in a large city and loved how peaceful and relaxing everything seemed at Sunset Bird. The restaurant was busy as usual, but luckily you were able to get shown right to a small table. Kyra lowered herself into a chair while Kova picked the one diagonal to her, not facing her or to her side. It was awkward. Let's see, what should we start with all to drink? Actually, I'm gonna save, and albeit gonna end stream so I don't get too far. And so this can cut this off at an even more awkward point. So this is all for now for stream. Thank you all for watching. I will play more of this probably tomorrow. Bye bye.